Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Stoicism teaches us to be wise, brave, just, and in control of ourselves so we can handle life's ups and downs calmly. But sometimes, we do things that go against Stoic ideas. It's important to spot and quit these habits if you want to use Stoicism to its fullest and feel its amazing effects. In today's video, we'll talk about 5 everyday habits that don't go with Stoicism and can stop you from having a more satisfying life. Number 5. Control your anger. Seneca, an ancient philosopher, had some valuable advice for us about anger. He said that it's crucial to control anger before it controls us. When we get angry, our ability to think clearly goes out the window, and it disrupts our inner peace. This can lead us to seek revenge, which only keeps the cycle of wrongdoing going. The Stoics, like Seneca, believed that seeking vengeance harms everyone in the long run. Instead, they promoted forgiveness as a way to break this cycle and make room for redemption. The Stoics didn't believe in suppressing anger altogether, though. Instead, they aimed to channel their strong emotions into productive actions to address injustices. However, they emphasized that any punishment should come from a place of principle and not unchecked rage. When facing wrongdoing, they advised approaching it with wisdom and self-discipline, keeping anger in check and letting reason prevail. So why do we get angry in the first place? It's often because people don't meet our expectations, make us feel small, or betray our trust. When others don't do what we expect them to, it triggers our anger. Seneca had a wise saying, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." This means that our anger is often fueled by our thoughts and fears rather than actual harm done to us. Most people struggle to manage their anger, and this can lead to regrettable actions. The Stoics, however, acknowledge that anger is a natural emotion that we can't prevent. What we can control is how we act when we're angry. Their goal was not to eliminate anger, but to keep it from taking over. The Stoics believed that most of us don't know how to handle our anger properly. Seneca compared someone consumed by anger to a falling rock that shatters upon impact, destroying both the target and it. This is the destructive nature of anger. To help manage anger, the Stoics developed some useful principles. Seneca even wrote an essay called On Anger to explain human anger and offer guidance on how to prevent and control it from a Stoic perspective. They saw anger as a pointless and destructive emotion that serves no good purpose. According to them, the ideal state of mind is one of tranquility, where we are clear-headed and unaffected by emotional turmoil. Seneca went as far as saying that anger has been one of the costliest plagues for humanity. Number 4. Talk less, listen more. We all know that saying, "God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately." Well, it's a reminder that we should listen more than we talk. Sometimes we feel the need to share our opinions all the time, even if what we're saying isn't really our own thought. If you pay close attention during conversations, you might notice something interesting. Many times when people seem to be listening to you, they're actually just thinking about what they're going to say next. They stop really hearing you after just a few words, and they're just waiting for their chance to speak. When both people in a conversation do this, it's like a race to see who can talk the most, and real communication doesn't happen. It's like both people are just blowing hot air and it's a waste of time. In the 21st century, listening seems to be disappearing as an art. Instead of trying to understand others, we're often more focused on making sure our own voices are heard above everyone else's. But when everyone's trying to be the loudest, it just creates more noise. True growth comes from learning something new, and to do that, we need to become better listeners. Listening to someone doesn't mean we have to agree with everything they say. It just means we're open to understanding their perspective. So, instead of waiting for your turn to give your opinion, try to really hear what the other person is saying. You might actually learn something new. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Practice really hearing what people say. Do your best to get inside their minds." There's a big difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is just hearing words, but listening is deeper. It's about paying attention to the tone of voice and body language, to understand the real message. When you listen and then respond thoughtfully, it shows that you truly understand, which is much better than just sharing your own opinions. So, make it a habit to listen carefully before you offer your thoughts. You'll gain wisdom and perspective that talking too much can't provide. There's also a big difference between just watching this video and turning Stoicism into a lifestyle. So, before we move on to the final 3, please make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay updated on our Stoic content. Number 3. Live in the present. Stoicism teaches us something really important. Being aware of what's happening right now is a big deal. Imagine you're in a busy moment and your mind starts racing with all sorts of thoughts about the past and the future. It's like your brain is running in all directions at once, and that can make you feel totally overwhelmed. But Stoicism tells us not to let that happen. Think of your life as a big panorama, like a wide view of everything. It can feel like a lot to handle when you start thinking about all the problems and things that happened in the past, or might happen in the future. But Stoics like Marcus Aurelius say, hold on a second. Don't let that big panorama of life stress you out. Instead, focus on the here and now. Why? Because we can't control the past or the future. They're not something we can change. What we do have control over is this very moment, right now. That's the only thing that's truly ours, according to Marcus Aurelius. He even said, you can't lose the past or the future because they were never really yours to begin with. The past is done and dusted. And the future? Well, that depends on what you do right here, right now. So Stoicism tells us to be mindful of the present moment, to pay attention to what's real and what we can actually do something about. The power we have is all about the present moment. It's like a superpower. At this very moment, we get to make choices. Think about it. Our thoughts and actions in this moment are the only things we truly control. If we want to be the best versions of ourselves, Stoicism says we have to be aware of what we're doing in the present moment. That's a must for any aspiring Stoic. But here's the problem, though. Our thoughts often wander off to the past or the future, and we forget about what's happening right here and now. This is why we feel overwhelmed. Unlike animals, we humans worry about stuff that's long gone or hasn't even happened yet, and we can't control any of it. So what can we do? Well, Seneca had some wisdom to share. He said that wild animals run from dangers they can see, and once they're safe, they stop worrying. But we humans, we torment ourselves with thoughts about the past and the future. Seneca tells us that the present, this very moment, can't make us miserable. So, whenever we start feeling overwhelmed, we should ask ourselves, what's the task at hand right now and why does it seem so unbearable? The more we practice bringing our attention back to the present moment, the more mindful we become of our actions. That means we're more likely to make choices that line up with the best version of ourselves. Number 2, acting emotionally. Emotions can be pretty tricky. They're all tangled up, sometimes confusing, and people often don't quite get them. Most of us tend to believe that we should keep our emotions in check, like not letting them burst out at the worst times, making us feel all embarrassed, and just plain miserable. But emotions are just a part of being human. They're like your body's way of reacting to stuff around you. Sometimes you feel down or upset because of something like losing a game, facing a tough situation, feeling uncomfortable, or even failing at something you wanted to succeed in. Other times, it's because you're thinking in a not-so-great way, like having negative beliefs or seeing things from a gloomy perspective. No matter where these tricky emotions come from, they're just your brain's way of telling you that something's up in your life. It's like a little alarm bell saying, hey, maybe you need to change something about your surroundings or the way you look at things. Now, there's this group called the Stoics, who are all about staying chill and keeping their heads cool no matter what's going on. But guess what? Even they sometimes let their emotions take the wheel before thinking things through. Like, you might snap at someone when you're super mad, or make decisions in a hurry when you're feeling all jittery. Here's a better plan. When you're hit with a strong negative emotion, take a breather. Seriously, just breathe. Step away from the situation if you need to, and give yourself some time and space. Once the storm inside you calms down a bit, that's when you can think more clearly and act in a way that's true to what you really believe in. Seneca, one of the big namies among the Stoics, once said, "Reason commands what is best. The emotions know only what is immediate." So, let your brain do the thinking, not your emotions. When the emotional tornado hits, those deep breaths and stepping back will help you ride it out. Then, when things settle down, you can respond in a way that lines up with your values and what you truly want. Number 1. Disowning your deeds and thoughts. The fox in The Little Prince once said something important. People have forgotten this truth, but you mustn't forget it. You become responsible forever for what you've tamed. You're responsible for your rose. It means that when we care for something or someone, we have to take care of them always. Now, in our everyday lives, we often tell ourselves stories about why things are the way they are. We spend a lot of time thinking about our problems, trying to figure out who or what caused them, and worrying about what might happen in the future. But here's the thing. Doing this hurts us. The problem with this is that it takes us away from the present moment. It distracts us from what we can do right now, the choices we can make, and the decisions we need to take to have a good life. We can't be happy if we don't take responsibility for the choices we make in the present. Our choices are like our superpower. They control how we react to things, and that's the most important thing in every moment. Lots of things in life are beyond our control, and that's okay. But what we can control are our thoughts, our fears, and our actions. If we focus on these 3 things, we can take care of our rose, which is our life. We can't let ourselves keep complaining and avoid doing the work we need to do. When we stop pretending we can control everything, when we stop complaining about what happens to us, and when we let go of our fears about the future, we can focus on the present moment. We can change the way we think and act. It's not easy, it's like going through a tricky, thorny path, but it's possible. Our choices and how we respond to things are the only things we're responsible for. Think of them as the keys to a beautiful garden, which is our life. So stop worrying about what you can't control and start taking care of your garden. That's where the real magic happens. So it takes courage and self-control to conquer fear. But remember, your choices are what make your life bloom like a beautiful garden. So go out there and be responsible for your rose, your life. To get the most out of Stoic teachings, it's important to ditch everyday habits that go against Stoicism and adopt the ones that align with it. Even though Stoicism's ideas are really old, they're still super relevant today. We often find ourselves doing things that Stoicism wouldn't approve of, like reacting emotionally and avoiding discomfort. Take a look at your own habits and try to replace the ones that don't fit Stoicism with better, more mindful ones. If you keep it up, your life will definitely get better. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great content.